Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us. My name is Jean, and I'm the founder of Global AI and Law Network. We are happy to have all of you with us today for today's Expert Spotlight session. Today, we are diving into a big topic, how AI is reshaping accountability, intellectual property, and legal risk. These issues affect companies, investors, regulators, and legal professionals. I am delighted to welcome our speaker, managing partner at Georgiades and Associates and co-founder of Yiannos Ventures. He brings deep experience at the intersection of law, technology, and investment. Thank you for being here. Would you like to share your opening thoughts on how AI is shifting responsibility in today's environment?
Yeah, recently I hear a lot of people say, everybody today speaks about AI. Some people, they say that. It's true that we speak about AI. I don't think it's boring. It's exciting. But I believe it's important to educate yourself about AI. It's touching every aspect of our life, professional and private.
Right.
And it's normal that people are having a fear, but we should look at AI with curiosity. It matters how you use it. So it could be bad or good, but it depends on how we use AI. I like to use an analogy with the canvas, and which I thought of it. It's basically, and if I can move my PowerPoint, I will show you this analogy with the painter. Yes, here we are. Imagine a canvas with a famous painter, an experienced painter, and an apprentice. The painter is a human and the apprentice is AI. Imagine around them, there is a part of the canvas, is the brushes, the paints, and everything. And the painter starts giving instructions in one scenario, we'll see the painter giving instructions to the apprentice to draw something that the painter has thought about. For example, a beautiful painting that you can show sunset and the sea and some trees and some different aspects. And he tells him, use this paint, use this brush now, draw this thing here, draw this here, there. And then he completes a beautiful painting. In this case, I think the creator is a painter and not the apprentice. And then the other scenario, you see the apprentice that is given by a lazy painter, very simple prompt, just draw a painting. He's starting on his own, his painting. In this case, Jean, it seems the painter is not the creator, of course. But then we realize the challenge relating to intellectual property rights when we see that the creator is not a human, but is the AI, is actually the non-human. We realize we have an issue, basically, because we might have a beautiful creation, but they cannot be protected, as it stands now, the law. Also, this example, I would like to say it has another importance, this analogy, because it makes you understand the impact that the human element has in this chain of evolution of technology. Because at the end of the day, you need the human element.
Right.
And this is not just a plain analogy. We can understand what I'm trying to say by, if we look at these cases, they called Douglas cases, which was a guy called Stephen Taller. And he created a device where he tried to use it to register this device as an inventor. It was an AI, but to register this inventor in different jurisdictions for patent. But none of the jurisdictions like US, UK, Australia, I remember well, accepted it because there was a mixing of the human element. And it's very good example is with Duckwood because it's a real example. And then you see the importance and the challenges we have. So we need to regulate IP rights relating to AI. This is one part of the challenges that AI brings up, but also is what you said that we will discuss today is also the accountability, the risks, the abilities, not only deriving from the infringement of IP, but also from issues relating to governance, other legal aspects, data protection, privacy, governance, and all these things. They are all relating and they become crucial now to discuss because they're connected with this evolution of AI. And I think to like the analogies when it comes to AI, because I realize that a lot of people speak about AI, but they don't really grasp it so much. And I use this analogy, this is the chef wrestle analogy, because basically the AI is different components. And then I can bring them to the kitchen. I like food a lot. Singaporean food is beautiful. Data, the algorithm, the computer, the hardware, the cloud servers, and the model and the application. The data is the ingredients. The algorithm is the recipe, the kitchen, and the chef, which is a trained model, and then the restaurant. I like this because we can easily see how things can go wrong. The same way in the kitchen, with contaminated ingredients or bad recipes, or we have a vulnerable kitchen, or the chef is not good. At the end of the day, the restaurant itself could be negligent. Different people in this chain can be liable. This is why the lawyers are necessary and compliance officers in order to guide and protect, in my opinion, people and companies from liability. We can see this is not a joke and it's not really something that is again our fantasy. There are major companies that they have been subject to heavy fines and liability. Sometimes because I believe they're also a bit confused as to their rights, in my opinion, despite being huge companies. For example, Clearview has been fined a lot of millions because it scraped billions of images without the consent of the owners. And they've been fined across Europe in different jurisdictions. So they haven't been fined, have been in England, in France, different jurisdictions, 20 million here, 20 million there. And then they also have been banned from using it in some jurisdictions, I think UK. And then we get a huge company, Anthropic, again, which they scraped a huge amounts of books, and then they ended up settling this by paying 1.5 billion. Basically, they gave a small amount for each author, but it added up to 1.5 billion. And then we have the Entrou Vert against Orange. It's not here on the screen, but I remember that this is a nice case because it shows you another aspect of being a bit careless. It's a company that went against Orange because they use an open source application, the GPL or HGPL. They use that. And because there is an obligation for companies who use it to disclose their code, even if you use it for a small part of your project, you may end up throwing away everything. So they pay about 900 million for this. It's very important. And this is without using AI Act. It's using the existing data protection laws. This is how they got in trouble. The critical point is the data. People think because of the exemption from the DSM directive, exemptions for text and data mining. And there are two articles. One, Article 3, it's relating to universities and this is institutions that do research. In that case, they can use it, but people miss out that it should be with the lawful access. So it's not just like that. Yes, we can use it because it's open. We should have a lawful access and use it. And that applies also for commercial purposes, which is relevant Article 4 of these exemptions. And in this case, this applies to corporate companies, for commercial use. But again, people are missing out that it should be with lawful access. So applies the lawful access, but there's also another tool here for the companies to opt out. If companies opt out through meta tags and other ways, also it's very stronger. And that doesn't mean that if companies don't opt out, you can use data infringing copyright or trademarks. And you must be extremely careful and take this into consideration.
We have a comment from one of the attendees. In your example of the painting, but it reinforces the main problem today, polarizing discussion between fully AI and no AI, where in actual fact, there are nuances to consider. The human instructed the AI added guidance, insights, and creativity, and the AI executed the task. Does that make the painting AI generated? Should the level of AI compared to the level of human involvement be disclosed? Especially with IP and copyright infringements, it feels the only way to address the challenge is by disclosing it upfront so the reader can know and make their own decisions accordingly.
It's a very interesting question. This it touches two aspects. First of all, it's a pure thing of the cover relating to whether it can be registered or not. It needs regulation, this, because the AI Act, even in Europe, does not touch this. But in my opinion, in case that the creator, the human, shows that he didn't just give a simple prompt, and basically by giving instructions specifically, as in the case of the painter, how to do this product, this painting, and he has proof of that, and he has all the logging files and has everything relating to this. In my opinion, in this case, you could differentiate it from the case of the lazy painter who gives just a prompt and he gets a product. So on one hand, when the painter shows he has put his own input and contribution heavily, it could be registered, the end result. Now, the other aspect that the audience put is the liabilities and the obligations that people that would use AI can have or not. And this is something that in China they deal where there are certain aspects of AI Act, but which hasn't been enforced yet fully. It's only for preventing certain practices, so as a parenthesis is. But in China, they do insist in watermarking. So when you do use, and then they try to regulate more the data and have obligations of filing algorithms and all this. So really, it's a very good question. In my opinion, it should be applicable from different jurisdictions. So there will be a transparency and make the people that they actually see the product aware of its origins. For example, that this is a human contribution heavily, which created a beautiful art, but is not 100% human. This what that is created is nothing to do with the creation by a human because he gave a simple prompt. And this is why now different governments, different jurisdictions, they're trying to impose different liabilities, as you can see on the screen. Companies or executive directors can be liable, employers of AI, manufacturers of AI, or anybody involved in this, or big providers like Anthropic, OpenAI, and other companies. If we go to the next slide, this is what I was trying to say. In different jurisdictions, China is insisting on watermarking, and we have Europe, which has AI, but as you're probably aware, recently they did the omnibus scheme that they postponed the full enforcement of it by the end of 2027, I think. And we have the US, which are using existing regulations, existing laws to regulate these, and they concentrate mostly on the enforcement rather than anything else when harm takes place. And then on the other hand, we have countries like Singapore and UAE, which are more flexible. They do it on a voluntary basis. They have a kind of a guidance, governance, suggestions, because they're trying to approach the matter in encouraging AI to develop in their countries, I believe.
Right.
And then we have, of course, Cyprus, which is my country, and it's part of Europe, and they follow rather the EU regulations. And also we are very sensitive ourselves, like in Singapore and UAE, to attract in our country the innovative startups. We provide extra benefits like the IP box regime with lower tax and other aspects, and trying to create the regulations that they can certify maybe some AI companies and audit them in a sense that they get a certification that it clears them, like China does, from any data or problematic data. So yes, another aspect that I wanted to share with you is also I wrote an article recently because I was inspired by this book that was published in a nice magazine by researchers. They're touching this anti-ischemic and anti-alignment stress testing, which is very interesting. And although it was for technical people, I thought that it's very relevant to us as lawyers and also to compliance people, but also to a lot of people that they're dealing with AI. Because even if everything goes well with their data, they can find themselves being cheated by the system. And this is why I call the article "When AI Can Deceive Its Creators: Legal and Regulatory Lessons from Anti-Skimming Alignment Research." I published it in a popular magazine here in Cyprus. And I wanted to point out that and see the peculiarities of this evolution of technology, that it comes to a point where even when you think the creators think that everything is good, it might be hidden goals of this application, and it can be showing manipulative behavior or deceptive strategies, which are differing from the human intention.
Right.
But on the end of the day, if you know about it, that this exists, and you don't do anything about it, and then you can find probably yourself liable for negligence if something goes wrong. So that's why these researchers were emphasizing the need of doing this stress testing for anti-skimming and anti-alignment to make sure that things are okay.
So for companies without large technical teams, what does their reliable system testing look like? Because they don't have enough manpower, how can companies without large technical teams conduct reliable safety testing?
Yeah, researchers found a program that it can do this as test stressing, stress test, but which they, in my opinion, companies must be aware of, and probably the regulators probably demand this test to take place. And also, from my capacity as investor through the fund and member of the committee, that we see a lot of decks, they growing the decks that they actually emphasize their innovation on AI. We should be very careful. Any investor, any fund, any investor also must be careful. Also, the founders of the startups, which don't have, right, some of the companies don't have a lot of resources, especially the startups. But this is where I believe there should be programs that helping even the startups, because there are policies like in Europe with the Horizon and other jurisdictions that provide money for this. If we want to advance and be on top of AI, every institution and every kind of professional must make the effort to educate themselves, but also to put in place some regulations that they make sense in order to have the development to thrive without a lot of problems.
So if you don't have a technical team, let's say, for example, no technical team, no IT team, whose responsibility should it be?
All right, very good question. I think it's a must. It's a must. It's a must that you need to basically have legal team, because if you don't have, and then you have people that they are not experienced in advising you within the company,
Right.
you might find yourself exposed both as company, but also as directors of the company. And when the AI comes fully in force, apart from all the other existing laws, that as we saw that they expose some companies because they pay heavy penalties, with AI on top of this, there will be like 35 million damage penalties they can impose, or 7% on the global turnover of the company. So it's not a joke. It's a necessity to have experienced lawyers, compliance officers, auditors, not just technical people. You must have a big team that they can work together, like lawyers, auditors, compliance officers, technicians, and the executive directors and the management of the companies must be really in alignment with all these other people, because in this way they can protect themselves, but also they can protect their companies. And this is something in Jean that also the investors and everybody that invests in companies must be aware of, and have a very good team, legal teams, that they can help and participate in the investment committees in order to assist the choice of the right company for the investment.
So this is for large companies with resources to hire legal teams, compliance, IT, security. What about small companies? they don't have the budget, does it mean they should not be using AI?
This is a necessity and an issue of concern to the people that they're ruling, and they do policy for AI, each country and jurisdiction, European Union, US, all these big countries and small countries. They should think of it, because they shouldn't kill the small industry companies. They should support and utilize funds available for innovation technology to help small companies focusing on this area. Already happens this in a way. I know that Europe has the program Horizon, and they do even use it for other countries outside Europe. In fact, we have a deputy minister of technology and innovation, and any startup that is dealing with innovation technology, we have also certification, that they second certification that they are innovative companies, and they give them a lot of benefits, including funding from the Horizon program that comes to the government.
Right.
So these amounts can be utilized for protecting your IP rights, or having consultants, or also to bigger funds to help you to operate and become and scale up in either within your country or in other jurisdictions.
Thank you. For attendees, if you have any questions, you can actually type into the Q&A chat box. Okay, and we will take your questions from time to time.
It has a logic, but whether AI will replace lawyers or other professions, I don't agree it will create unemployment in the way they describe it, or the worry, in a sense that it becomes so autonomous, AI, that it will rule. I think this time will be a time where we as humans receive instructions from the AI, which I don't think is coming. I cannot exclude anything, but I don't think it's coming for a lot of years, decades, maybe hundreds of years. I don't know. Cannot imagine a time that people would be altered by the machine to do things. We do the opposite, but we not reach a point, I think, that a machine can tell me to sit up and leave the webinar now, but I can't close this webinar. I can force me to get up and leave. The lawyers, because of this webinar, you can see, don't even need to tell you this, that is shifting the role of the lawyers to more highly demanding tasks. The critical mind of the lawyer and the skill and talent of the lawyer as human cannot be replaced by the AI. AI is a partner. And I heard people saying, which I agree with them, that the lawyers that educate themselves and they know about the AI and they conform with this transformation and they embrace this transformation, they would be the lawyers they could replace, not be the AI replacing the lawyers. I really believe that AI is like an assistant, it's like a partner.
Right.
It's not even a tool. When we saw the painter, we can see that it's not a tool. The tool is a brush and the paints and all this. But the AI is something different. It's our partner. And we educate it, we train it, and we can, if we do this properly, follow regulations, anticipate the problems and the weapon need, and the draft balance regulations, statutory provisions, it will create this balance that we need. Of course, we can never exclude bad things happening. That's why we have the criminals, we have the cybersecurity issues, where we have the hackers, we have the murderers. In our life and in this world, we are always challenged by threats. It's not the technology itself that is creating this, it's a human nature. And then it's how we use this technology, how we embrace the technology, that we should concentrate and focus on, and stop worrying, having fears of the technology, because then we will be acting in a self-destruction way if we don't realize it. This is my opinion.
We have another question. Have you heard about the Deloitte Australia saga, government engagement? So I think the Deloitte Australia saga is the one that we published a report that contains many fake references, citations, which I think is very common for legal professions, right? That you have seen lawyers, how they have gone to court and then they have argued their case using fake case laws hallucinated by AI tools. So what is your view and how could it have been avoided?
So this Australian saga, you say, is about misinformation and fake information, and
Yes, correct.
this is something we should avoid, and this is why we should do a proper testing and make sure that we cure the data and protect the people. This is not just one example; it's a lot more examples, even relevant to our legal world, which lawyers who were not careful, they have used citations. Presidents, they have been fined in UK. I think they've been fined, or
Yes.
US also.
Yes.
Some
And
of them
even
disbarred.
Singapore.
And yeah, because they were not careful. And this is a very good example because it applies the same. I would say that as a lawyer practicing for years, passed through my office a lot of trainee lawyers, a lot of junior people. And you know how we always ask somebody who is not so experienced to do a legal research, help us and produce for us something, or a submissions, written submissions, or a legal research, or an opinion. And imagine you were busy now, and the technology has nothing to do with that. We are busy, we are lazy, we get it and give it to the client. Or we call, and this causes problem, of course. Why should that be different? And why should we be so more critical when it comes to AI? It's the same thing. Who is at fault? Is it the AI or is it me who make the mistake? And if it's me, if I'm not careful to check the citations or the information I see, whether I'm a lawyer or another professional, and I give an opinion, professional opinion, I don't check it, confirm this information exists or this citation exists, then it's not AI. It's not the technology the problem. It's you. It's a human.
I agree. And I like the way that you put it is lazy, just pure laziness. It's not even incompetency, it's just pure laziness. And I think that it is a brutal truth that it should be told. So we should not hide from the truth. And it is really laziness, in my opinion, as well.
Yes, each one of us has a responsibility to be educated of the new developments and learn to utilize them for a good cause. This is why even in AI, apart from administrative and civil liabilities, believe it or not, you can find yourself in criminal liability.
Right.
For example, if you create an AI product that you know knowingly can harm people. So in this case, a company can also find themselves not just subject to penalties and fines and damages in civil actions, but also criminal liability. And this is why we should look at it in not in a way that we create panic and fear, but to make a balance between the allowing the technology to advance,
Right.
and at the same time regulate it in a proper way, so we avoid, to the extent we can avoid, because we cannot be perfect, the
Right.
problems.
Technology is always one step ahead of laws and regulations. It's going to be very challenging for laws and regulations to catch up, especially for emerging technologies like AI. Do you agree?
Yes, I agree. We should catch up and be ahead, not running after technology. The EU decided to postpone the enforcement of the AI Act to the maximum, to all the aspects of it, not just the preventive and banning some social scoring and all these things under Article 5. I know it's controversial and people say that this should not be done. It's like deregulating. On the other hand, the big companies like Amazon, everything, they say they're very happy with it. Okay, I think there is a sense that there is a kind of a logic why they should postpone it. Maybe they realize that the companies need more smooth adoption,
Right.
and maybe more guidance. They need more to be done, maybe from the side of the regulators, to educate people a little bit and not to jump on them. I understand this. But at the same time, don't forget there are existing laws and regulations, as we saw, that they do regulate in a way the development of technology. It's, of course, better if we do concentrate on regulating, in my opinion, more specifically, because of its peculiarities, by having proper AI regulations and not just have a lot of other laws that we can look for them to regulate. I think it's important to have a unified AI law like Europe is doing. And
Right.
yeah,
But there are people who are saying that they have simplified or rather postponed the enforcement is because they have been actually influenced by all these big tech players. And it should not be the case because they should remain neutral and impartial.
the big companies should not dictate the
Right.
regulation because they will lose the trust. Consumers lose the trust. There should be an objective way of dealing with the matter and protecting the consumer. And for the industry generally, it's better to be honest and transparent, and it's for the best interest of everybody to not to get into adventures, having a tool or a platform, an AI that can make life easier and then damage this in a way people cannot trust it. So we need to, instead of filling the public domain with uncertainty, I think China is doing well that the watermarking system, because in this way people can understand and evaluate how to appreciate the creation
Right.
that otherwise they didn't know about before.
Right.
Is it just AI? Is it a contribution by experienced human and monitored by them? Is it something that is fake? Is it real? So yes, it's important not to delay, in my opinion, the regulation without, of course, influencing the development of technology. So it should be a balance between what Singapore and UAE does and the European Union and US does. Something we should find the balance between these two.
And finding balance and balance of different parties' interests is always a challenge, correct? It will always be a challenge. You cannot please one group of people always.
That's a reality of our
Right.
existence, I think, and the
Right.
interaction makes us interesting. This is why we discuss this now. If it was perfect, there would not be a need of discussing anything. This is part of our life. Be realistic, but also optimistic and embrace technology and not
Right.
keep it away from us.
Right.
By the way, my generation, I'm very fortunate because, as I said, when I was young, at a young age, we didn't have technology. And we didn't know about the fax machines, smartphones, the internet. If you go back in history, everything developed rapidly from the mid 80s, I think, to now, very fast, very fast. So I'm very privileged, and people of my age should be happy to see, to be witnessing from no technology to such a huge technology. And okay, people are trying that they're scared now from AI, but I think we should not be scared. What is actually interesting and we should be fearing of is what would develop then after 20 years. If
Right.
we are now already so much advanced, I can't imagine what else we can expect to see in the coming years.
And it's the next generation that will actually encounter, especially on the AI effects.
Now maybe it's easy. People are it's easier, in my opinion, it's easier for people to accept the, especially different. You may use as an example the lawyers. I believe it's a clear evolution from the mid of the 80s. Because I remember I was a student at that time of law, and it was that time they introduced a lesson to us for LexisNexis and the Westlaw, which was used through a model, not by going to the web, but we're going to the library, pure kind of database, doing research, and finding all these cases. It was amazing, this technology at that time. And but we couldn't use it as president's citations in court. We should still use them in the law reports or the law reports physically. But then it was so credible, this kind of a database, a platform, that both in US and UK and a lot of other jurisdictions, they accepted just to print it and show it as a precedent now in the court or refer to it, and then even the judges go in and see. Right. AI is an extension of this, but it's a huge difference because now it's making more quick and not just getting data which you will then need to process, but they process it for you. So in a way, we shouldn't be surprised. It's an evolution. It's an upgraded way of doing research. More kind of pitfalls, which we need to be aware, and then cure it in a way that we avoid these kind of scenarios of lawyers who are not careful, expose themselves in the court by giving hallucinated judgments.
Oh, we have actually one more comment. Responsibility and accountability must rely on human trust. Allowed by disclosing the use of AI, the solution should not be enforced by technology. Australia released an AI usage classification standards allowing transparency by disclosing AI involvement, not mandated yet, but encouraged. Actually, that is good. I think there
That's
should be
very good.
transparency.
This is what China is doing also for any country to do that. Australia, what they did
Right.
is,
Right.
I'm very impressed with Australia's in AI. It's very
Right.
good because it creates the trust and credibility, disclose. And this is what I said about Cyprus also, that it would be nice to use it as a pilot and then try to create a kind of a auditing kind of authority that maybe at the beginning will not be forcing them, but advising them to do that, because they can utilize it when they are pitching for investors, the startups can use it as an extra element and say, look, I have a certificate of clearance for my data and for my algorithms from this authority. I believe that AI is it's something that we should be feeling blessed that we have it and develop. We as humans, we have the capacity and intelligence to utilize it properly. We shouldn't worry about being so autonomous that they can rule us and they can exclude us. On the contrary, we should embrace this transformation and educate ourselves, and then look at it in an optimistic way, this development, and utilize it for the making our life better. And the lawyers, I think, now they have an opportunity to get much more work. That shouldn't be worrying.
Thank you, Yiannos. This has been an incredibly insightful conversation. So today we explored accountability, IP, data risk, global regulation, and what the future of legal practice with AI embedded in our systems. Thank you to everybody who joined us tonight for the thoughtful questions. We appreciate your time and hope to see you again at the next event. Thank you.
Thank you so much for organizing this.